I'll describe, it's very resinous, of course, but the good stuff has an interesting kind of cinnamon note, and it doesn't take much. Those two little crumbs I put there are going to generate smoke, and we can even kind of waft it out, and you'll pick up an interesting resinous, slightly minty, kind of almost varnishy, you know, like an old instrument, like an old violin, which is no surprise.
Those are old trains.
Yeah, okay. Old violins, interesting. Stradivari, he used to use another resin that I'm going to show you next. Stradivari, the secret to his varnish is dragon's blood.
Really?
Yeah.
Amazing.
This stuff here. Unfortunately, I only have broken up bits. This stuff comes in these baseball-sized pieces. They look like it's a round baseball-looking thing, kind of a brick red, and the surface is sort of shiny, and stamped onto it is a gold leaf pentagram, and which is kind of the reason why I don't buy dragon's blood in pieces. I want to buy the whole thing. Or I definitely won't buy powder, because I don't know what's in that powder. It could be brick dust. It's common. You know, it's not unusual. I insist on seeing the pentagram stamped on there, not for my benefit, but for my clients. You know, because they insist on it being there. You know, for protection. It's often used in rituals as kind of a way of beginning to open doors.
Okay.
And it's one of those things that when you start opening doors, like when you start something, you better be prepared to finish it. It's kind of the Ouija board thing.
Yeah.
You know, people are warned, don't mess with Ouija boards. It's not a game. That's kind of, you know, they're warned about that. And this is the same thing. I suppose it's a matter of intent. And if your intent is opening doors, you really don't know what's on the other side. So that's why I insist on seeing that gold pentagram stamped onto every piece that I get. So I broke these up myself, and so I usually try to keep a whole one here, because some people are obsessive compulsive and they insist on seeing that pentagram. Most people are willing to take my word for it, you know, which is fair. This one here, see if I can get a small piece, it melts down into the charcoal really fast, so be careful how much you put on, because you can't undo it. It melts. See, the frankincense doesn't melt in. You can kind of flick it off if you want. This stuff will melt in, and once it's in there, forget it. This has a kind of rosy, tobacco-y, kind of cigar leaf fragrance, and it's, if you need to get closer, please, you know, slightly rosy, slightly tobacco-y, naturally resinous, you know, sort of varnishy, like all these resin incenses. So from here, see, yeah, it's kind of rosy, tobacco-y, resinous, slightly musty, you know, earthy, like a wine cork.
Yeah.
You know, we'll have that sort of, you know, musty, you know, smell.
What's the cost of something like
Dragon's
that?
blood? I do this, I mean, I sell this kind of for my head, because I probably use more of it than I actually sell. It comes out to, it's like $2 for 15 grams. I'd have to weigh, this is probably about 50, maybe a little bit more or less grams. So it's not, it's one of the slightly more expensive resins, like the frankincense, like 25 grams. There's almost an ounce for $2, at least this particular frankincense, because I buy like 20 pounds at a time or so, well, 10 kilos at a time. Helps keep my price down. From here, now, like with all these resins, you can add whatever you want. You can start playing around. You can add spices. You can add herbs. You can add oils. You know, oils are not uncommon. Other botanicals. You can mix different resins together. And some of them, there are proprietary monastic blends. They're made by monks. And they're very, very secret. Like this one here, this is basilica. This is the same as costs as frankincense. It's dragon's blood. This is made by Benedictine monks, and it's a mix of resins, frankincense, styrax. There's some oils in there. What's in here? They took a vow of silence. So you're never going to find out what's in here unless you're willing to become a monk. And that's a big
a little
commitment.
far to go for me.
That's a big commitment. So this is one of the most famous of resin blends, probably. It's called Basilica, and it's a monastic blend, predominantly frankincense, but there's some things in there I can't identify. I think, I don't know. The more I try and think about what's in there, the less I really know. There's styrax in there for certain. It's another resin called styrax. It's not a nice name. You know, sounds like like a plastic. You know, doesn't it? But it doesn't smell. And it's slightly buttery. There's a material that has this smell called diacetyl acetate or diacetyl. You'll smell it like in movie popcorn. It has a little bit of that going for it. Certain kinds of beer, particularly German beers, will actually have a diacetyl. And when it's strong, it almost smells a little like scallops. The diacetyl, it'll smell, but it's a buttery sort of smell. It's really unusual. It's really, really unusual. And this one is a gum. This one doesn't melt down, and so it's like you have a little chance to kind of undo what you've done. I'll just show kind of one other little example of resin blends. 7 African powers. What those 7 powers